All right, guys, welcome back into another episode of the Show Baseball Podcast presented by Beyond the Monster. I am your host, Andrew Parker, and today's episode, we're diving into the Chicago White Sox system. We have Shane Murphy on, and Shane is fresh off winning a Pitcher of the Week award for Double-A Birmingham for his two great outings last week, where he went 6 and 7 innings apiece and absolutely dominated. So we do talk about a little bit about his start to the year. Obviously, he's fresh into Double-A this year, and he's doing quite well. So we do talk a little bit about that. We talk about his upbringing as well. You know, obviously he has an older brother in professional baseball, and getting to hang around him at a young age kind of molded who he is now and have the right mindset for minor league baseball because it is a grind. So we do get into that, and we talk about a lot of other things. But before I do get into the interview, whether you're watching this on YouTube, listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is that you get your podcast, please like, subscribe. Making a big push right now on YouTube, trying to get some subscribers there. It is free to subscribe on YouTube. So anything helps, and I always appreciate it. But without further ado, let me shoot you on to the interview with Shane Murphy. All right, I am joined by Shane Murphy of the Chicago White Sox system, and Shane is fresh off of a Player of the Week award this past week for his two starts last week there in Double-A, and that's actually right where I am going to start. You had two great outings last week that obviously got you named Player of the Week there in Double-A. Well, you know, how would you feel? I guess how were you feeling last week during those starts?
Good. It was obviously felt good, throw the ball well, and looking back at it, all comes down to executing a lot of pitches, having a good game plan. I think going into the week, I reports wise and breaking down hitters and going into the week knowing I had a double dip this week, just really dove in deep on reports and trying to have a game plan and going over stuff prior to getting into the week, coming off my start on Wednesday, having Thursday through Sunday to prep for the next week. Me, my pitching coach, and our catchers really dove deep in terms of going into the side before the week, the bullpen, just having a game plan and executing, and then taking it right out there to the mound, competing. It always comes down to competing and executing pitches. You can have a game plan, you can have whatever you want, and that can get thrown out the window. Pitch one into the game, but I think just allowing the game to move slower and be slower, knowing you have confidence on your preparation of the week leading into it was the biggest thing. And then after Tuesday, it was just had success Tuesday night. So it's like, let's stick with a similar game plan, obviously make adjustments, face the lineup 3 times Tuesday night. So they saw a good amount of me. So going into Sunday, it was just execute pitches. They've seen what you got. Now it really comes down to executing and trying to just control counts, control the zone, and change speeds. And I think me and Calvin, the catcher, John, our pitching coach, we had a really good game plan for both days and went out there and executed pitches, which is the name of the game when it comes down to it. So I felt really good. It was cool to get the recognition, but try to put that in the rearview mirror moving on to this week and just understand that you're only as good as your last one and as your next one. So being where my feet are is huge and pivotal in terms of mindset always, but especially coming off a good week. It's the past is the past, and let's try to focus on the next week moving forward and the opponent we got now and just respecting every hitter in each lineup.
So something I did notice about your season so far is the length that you're going in these games, and I did peek back, and I don't know if we should count this because you didn't technically start, but you haven't gone less than 5 innings since May 9th. I mean, I know you came in out of the bullpen in the fourth inning, so I don't know if we
Mhm.
should really count that, but you're going deep into games regardless. So like you're going 5, 6, 7 innings,
Yeah.
for the past month and a half. Is that something that you kind of pride yourself on, that, you're able to, be the guy that goes out there, every start and goes deeper into games, saving the bullpen a little bit? Like, is that something that you kind of take some pride on?
No doubt. I think most starters would say they do, but especially every pitcher on our staff really takes pride. We talk about pitching into the sixth all the time. Just turning the lineup over 2 times. Through that, we're still in the development phase. Granted, we're in Double-A, so we're higher up. It's not A ball anymore in terms of development, in terms of working. You're always working on stuff, but like in the lower levels, you could be working on stuff and taking what you're working on into the game. Versus here, it's like, all right, once you're in the game, it's straight compete, get outs, and let's win some ball games. Um, so I think mainly coming off of that, just the whole staff, all five, six of us, we openly talk about pitching in the six. Pitching in the six is a good outing. If you pitch in the six, no matter what, if it's 2 earned runs, 4 earned runs, 5 earned runs, if you made your way into the six, whether it was one bad cricket inning, you competed enough to get to the six, save the pen, turn the lineup over at least 2 times, hopefully. And I think just as a staff as a whole, we preach that and take pride in it. And then personally, I mean, as a competitor and a starter, you just want the ball always. You get to pitch once a week. It's the most important day of the week. Once every 5, 6 days, I should say, but you're not in the game every day, So like, you have to you live with that outing for the next 4 or 5 days, and not that it holds over you, whether good or bad, but like, that's what you have to build off of. So I think the night before preparation, visualizing what's going to happen, just understanding I need to turn the lineup over at least 2 times for me to feel like I contributed to saving the bullpen, helping the team win, eating innings, and all that. So part of being a starting pitcher. Granted, the game's changed. Most starting pitchers throw 5 or 6. In the old days, it'd be if you didn't pitch into the seventh, I'd say you really didn't do your job as a starter. But we definitely take pride in being efficient, getting in and out of innings, in and out of at bats, and trying to manage the pitch count and pitch into the sixth inning for sure.
So earlier this season, you officially did get your call up to Double A.
Yeah.
Just a few outings into your season this year. Was that something, obviously, like, going into the off season? And I did see you got a little bit of time in Charlotte last year.
Yeah, last year at the end of the year.
I don't know if we count that or not. I mean, that's actually where I want to start. Like, what was was that just a thing where they needed arms, or like, I guess, what was that?
Honestly, yeah, I mean, nothing was openly communicated with me, so I'm not going to speak on the end in terms of player development and
Yeah.
who makes those decisions. Um, I just know it was an opportunity given to me, whether it was to eat innings and fill a roster spot. I know our Double A team was in the playoffs, so should the Triple A team needed guys to take up innings and fill spots, and our Double A team being in the mix of a playoffs and ultimately winning the championship if they didn't want to move guys up from there. So me going from high, getting that opportunity, whatever you want to call it, it is what it is. I just know I had an opportunity and I made sure to be grounded and really took the opportunity. That was a big proponent going into the off season in terms of confidence and learning about myself. And I said, I don't know if it was my dad or brother, I was like, man, those 9 innings in Charlotte felt equivalent to like 25, 30 innings of experience in high. Just like how much you learn, how fast it is. And then understanding 1 or 2 innings were really bad, but the other 5, 6 were really good, and just the confidence to build off that and understand that like my stuff, quote unquote, does play as long as I execute pitches, change speeds, and pitch. I take pride in the art of pitching. I'm not gonna blow you away with my stuff, velo, etc. But I take pride in commanding the ball, moving the ball around the zone, controlling counts. So pitching to my style of game and having success really led to a huge confidence boost coming into the off season and taking it into spring training as well.
Yeah, and obviously, you still, like you said, that time in AAA, you thought probably equated to like 25 innings in high A, and I
Hmm.
feel like AAA is just such a different experience than the rest. Like,
It
even
is.
for myself, being a guy that's been in like clubhouses around AAA, it's you got guys that maybe have like 5, 6 years of MLB time. You got top prospects. You got everything. It's like,
Yeah, yeah, you
it's a
do.
lot. It's very, very different than high A, but
Yeah,
obviously now you're in Double A. You got the promotion up there. You're there. For now, for the near future, and for yourself, like, have you taken that? Like, you kind of talked about the AAA experience a little bit, how much that meant to you, your confidence and everything. But now that you're in Double A, it's like you are only 2 calls away from the
mhm.
bigs. Like, is that something that you ever think about? That it's like I'm getting a lot closer than I was a year ago.
Yeah. I don't think you think about it on the day to day, but in the moment when it happens, it's like I think you just feel the presence in terms of everyone in the clubhouse feeling that way. Just it's very, I'd say, the biggest jump in terms of professionalism and maturity and talent, like depth through a lineup, and then amongst your teammates in clubhouse, the professionalism and approach to the game, and everyone kind of understanding like, all right, we're in double A, the guys across the field in the other dugout are all big league caliber players if they put together the right month or right approach, whatever it may be in terms of that extra step of development. So I think that as a whole, just and being a starting pitcher, you watch 4 games before you're out there. Like just watching the games nightly, it's like the depth on the field and the consistent talent level and consistency in terms of routines, routines off the field, like in the locker room, weight room, training room, routines leading up to the game, people making the routine plays, the cleanliness of the game is like just the game's super clean and pure, and I think that's really when it's like, all right, everyone else understands they're 1, 2 calls away, and it just elevates you in the moment to be like more disciplined, more dedicated to what your craft is and whatnot. But you don't think about it on the day to day. I think that can almost hurt you in a negative aspect, but you understand it as a whole and just the atmosphere that's surrounded in the clubhouse and on the field in a double A atmosphere, I'd say. So you definitely think about it, but not on the day to day. You just got to be where your feet are and keep working your tail off, I'd say is the number one thing, or that's how I try to approach it.
Yeah, I think it's a very underrated part of minor league baseball. Kind of what you're talking about, the mindset. You got to stay present, stay where your feet are.
Yep.
At what point in your career? Because you've been in professional baseball now for 3 years now.
Yep.
It's coming up on 3 years. So, what point in your career did you kind of like realize like I can't play GM in my head anymore? Like I just gotta like stay present. Like when did you? What point in the career was that a realization?
Um, I've been very fortunate. So my older brother's been in the game for 11 years, signed out of high school. Actually, 12 or 13 years. He had 1 season in Japan. I think this year was his 12th spring training. So I think just learning from experience, being the younger brother from him, um, understanding how the game works, the process he went through, the grind it takes to get where we all want to be. I think people who play GM, I think that's the number one, in my personal opinion, what you can't do. I think it's just a negative outlook, and you really just got to focus on what you can do and what you're doing and how you can add value to a team, whether it's a double A team or what you're working on to add value to a big league team. Um, but I'd say just learning from my brother, guys like Jamie, Cole Tucker, just the community we have in Chandler, Arizona, of baseball guys around my brother's age. I'm super grateful and fortunate. I was little brother that got to tag along to everything. So I think I learned a lot while I was in high school about what pro ball is like, and just going into pro ball with the right mindset and understanding what it takes and the mindset behind it. And just, I guess ever since I've been in pro ball, I always knew I had to focus on myself and be where my feet are. So I'd say it happened before pro ball. I really got to learn that through the lens of my brother and his friends and our friends and our community. So I'm super fortunate for that aspect.
Yeah, I think that's like a cool perspective to have because I feel like you always hear about the stories of like the father sons, the
Hmm.
father played and like whether it's the holidays, the BGOs, like whoever it is in,
Yep.
in baseball, you're just like, oh well, they grew up in a clubhouse. Well, you didn't grow up in a clubhouse necessarily, but you saw your older brother kind of do it when you were a little older, so you kind of
No doubt.
think you maybe were able to like sink in a little more of the intangibles and things like that. So.
A
Um,
hundred percent. I'd say I always have these visual, distinct memories that I'll never forget, and I think really propelled, like in terms of a mindset aspect, and like me really diving deep and be like, oh my god, I want to be. Obviously, as a little kid, you've always had a dream. I want to be a big league baseball player or whatnot. But once I hit like freshman, sophomore year of high school, I'll never forget like my brother and his buddies who are all in pro ball, including Jamie, Cole Tucker, um, Bellinger, everyone from the Chandler community where we're from. There's been it's a cesspool of talent, and especially guys my brother's age. But I'll, their second or third off season, because the group of them all signed out of high school the same year in 2013. And I'll never forget like their first and second off season before they were even 21, so they really couldn't go out or do anything yet. It was just the boys would come over in the off season. They have off season all day to hang out. They worked out together, and just listen to them to sit in the living room of my parents' house and just tell stories about clubhouse stories, bus rides, the minor league experience. And I just remember being 12, 13, and just eating it up. And I think that really like propelled my mindset and level of understanding of what minor league baseball is like. And that's when I really dove deep and I was like, man, I want these experiences that they're having. And then the way they go about it and all the stories they have, those are like the most distinct memories I have of just looking up to my brother and his friends and learning from them through experience. Just them being in the couch and just telling endless stories about minor league baseball.
Gosh, I would be absolutely glued to
Yeah,
their sides probably every time they were over. Just like tell me everything. Like
yeah,
I
I
need to hear
definitely
it.
was. I'm sure I was annoying at one point too. I was
Yeah.
a 12, 13, 14-year old brother, but at the same time, I think it helped me grow up faster and mature quicker. But I was definitely fortunate and lucky, and I think that was a huge proponent for me.
Yeah, you were every 12, 13-year-old. I know when I was that age, I was probably wishing I could have been, part of
Exactly.
something like that. So that is cool. That is very,
Yeah,
very cool. I always appreciate hearing stories like that and
no
kind of
doubt.
where the love came from. But obviously, I want to take you back to your off season here. Obviously, you have gotten off to a good start this year. You're coming off a Player of the Week. You've put probably due to the work that you put in over the off season. So what kind of things did you kind of focus on with your game? Like, was it something like velocity driven? Was it something where you adding pitches? Like, what were you doing over your off season?
Yeah, it was obviously weight room dominant comes first in the off season, I think, for anyone. So just trying to add strength, add physicality. With that, if it's not velocity, the strength can add to endurance, being training the body to be able to eat 6 innings throughout a season. The season's a marathon. So I think weight room driven, it was endurance and strength and just anything it takes to make sure I'm healthy for a full season and eat as many innings as possible. Being healthy is the number one factor that no one talks about that not gets taken for granted by anyone, but just in terms of like guys who are doing well or having good seasons, like you're like, oh, this guy put together a great year, and it's like, oh well, you don't think about it or talk about it, but it's like he was fortunate enough to put together this great year because he was healthy and didn't have any hiccups. Like it's really tough when something's bugging or you go on a 10-day stint or a 15-day stint and like trying to build back up from that. So I think just being healthy is the number one proponent to success. Just your endless amount of reps, you get comfortable, you get more experience, just all that plays into it. And then so I think in the off season that's mainly the main focus is just building a foundation and endurance, arm care, whatever it takes to make sure I can handle a full 140, hopefully 162 game season one day. So that, and then on terms of pitching side, I was really huge on fine tuning a slider, and I did fine tune a slider. And then in spring, I was able kind of led right into a feel for a cutter for me, which has been a work in progress, but has really taken a big step. I'd say the past 3 4 weeks, being able to differentiate the cutter from the slider, now adding both of those into my arsenal has really been big for sure.
Something I've heard quite a bit, and something that kind of stuck out to me to what you were saying there. The best ability is availability, is
No
what
doubt.
I'm hearing from you.
It,
Uh, I've
it's
heard that so many
cliche,
times.
kinda. You hear it all the time, but like it's cliche for a reason, and you don't take it for granted. Like I don't want to say no player takes being healthy for granted, but just in terms of like it gets taken for granted on the outside looking in. Like, oh, what led to this guy's success? Like, oh, like, and everyone's barking. Everyone has an injury, no doubt. Like, you're never going through a full season healthy. But if you can limit, whether it's a 15-day stint, obviously, and stuff happens out of your control. If a ligament goes or a freak play goes or something like, but more so like the soft tissue injuries, just feeling good, being healthy on top of it. The little nagging stuff, being able to take care of that is the biggest thing, and just it just leads for more consistency because you're playing on a more regimented schedule. And through that consistency, you build experience and reps and confidence. So I think that's the number one thing for sure.
Absolutely. All right, I got two questions left for you, and I will let you slide here. So obviously you are an Arizona guy, and
Hmm.
you're Arizona through and through. You went to high school out there, went to college out there, and you even have a good, you got spring training out there with the
No
White
doubt.
Sox, so you don't have to leave there. But obviously you're in Double A and you're in the White Sox system, so you're heading a little more east. Is this the
Hmm.
first time that you had ever been out to like the Birmingham area, anything like that before in your life?
Yeah, so the year I was drafted, our 2022 draft camp was in Birmingham, Alabama, at the AA affiliate for 10 days straight because they were on the road. They had a 3-game stint post All Star break and their first full 6-game series. So they had like 14 days on the road. So our 10-day draft camp was in Birmingham, and that was my first time ever in the South. And that was the last week of July. And my God, I was like, I've never felt heat like this in my life. I'll never forget. And I'll experience it this year too. We're coming up on it. It's starting to get really hot
It's getting there,
consistently.
yeah.
And but that end of July, it was every day was 101 with 96% humidity. And I was like, oh my God, there's no point in showering at any time of the day because no matter what, I'm sweating. It felt
You
like,
walk outside, you're wet.
yeah. So obviously, being in the Carolinas was as far east as I've been at a consistent living period. But being in Birmingham in the South, it's definitely a different type of heat, no doubt. Um, you sweat, you gotta maintain your hydration level. I think the biggest thing on game day is just, and the day, 2 days prior to game day, is just taking care of your hydration and eating the right foods and whatnot. But it's definitely a different type of heat and heavy. It's a heavy air,
Yeah.
heavy heat for sure.
Yeah, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in the St. Louis area, and we always got the humidity as well. And I used to call it a wet blanket. Like you would
Yeah.
walk out the door, and it felt like somebody put a wet blanket on you.
Yeah,
Like,
your clothes stick to you, your clothes
yeah.
add 2 pounds of weight. Yeah, it's
Oh yeah.
definitely a different heat. And Arizona's hotter than heck. And all the guys from the South come to Arizona, whether it's when you're first drafted and playing rookie ball or draft camp. And I think it's a tough adjustment period no matter where you go, just to what you're used to. But I enjoy it. I don't mind the humidity. Obviously, when you sweat your tail off, it's gripping the balls a little bit different and whatnot, but it also creates for some more friction and tack too. So there's pros and cons depending how much you're sweating, how long of an inning you're working in. Once you get over that 18 pitches, you have a guy on, 2 guys on, and you're trying to make those high leverage pitches and you're sweating your tail off, and you'll be like, oh, I could use a dry towel somewhere on this planet to wipe my hand off or a dry surface, but it's part of it. Everyone's dealing with the same thing.
Yeah, you try to like wipe it on the jersey. You're like, wow, this
Yeah,
is soaking wet too.
yeah,
So
it
it's,
gets wetter. Yeah,
yeah.
no doubt.
Oh, yeah. Well, welcome to the Midwest South. It's like the
For
humidity,
sure.
man. That's what changes it.
Yeah.
All right. I got one final question here for you. I like to ask a lot of guys this to come on here. But, obviously, every Monday in minor league baseball is an off day.
Hmm.
So, unless you're maybe traveling, like, then, maybe you have to take a bus ride, whatever. But let's just say it's one of those days that you're not on a bus ride, you're at home. How are you spending your Monday off day? Like, what do you like to do?
Um, I'd say no matter what, even if it is an off day, I do like to get some sort of sweat or workout in just to keep the body. I think sometimes, and everybody's different. Everybody knows their body to a T. But for me personally, I think if I spend a whole Monday off day not doing anything and like quote unquote true recovery, I think that almost sets me back a day and I feel worse Tuesday. So whether it's golfing, going to the apartment gym, doing a yoga, a stretching session, whatever it is, I do try to get a sweat in and feel like I got some sort of workout in no matter what, whether it's a quick 30-minute workout. Obviously, I'm not going to be on my feet for 6 hours like I would be at the field or whatnot, but some sort of movement and workout. And then there's normally always a grocery store run in, a grocery haul for the week. I do play golf. I don't play religiously every Monday, but if there's a group going out, I'll play once once every other 2 off days, once a month, twice a month, however it seems fit. But I like TV. I'm a sportsaholic. Whatever sports are on, I'm watching. I watch ESPN and MLB Network all day, every day. So honestly, I just hang out, do the normal laundry, groceries, normal chores, and just take a day to be away from the yard for 10 hours and try to get a workout in and just hang out.
The pitchers and the golf course, man. It's two
Yeah,
things you cannot keep apart.
no, you cannot. Which I love. My first year in Kannapolis, my first full season in pro ball, I think I played golf every single off day. And as I've gotten older, I would if I felt like my body allowed it. Granted, golf shouldn't be that taxing on your body. It's what people do when they retire. But when you feel like you're in your prime athleticism, it's hard not to grab the driver and rip it as hard as possible. And then you wake up with a sore trap the next day. So it's give and take, but golf definitely is. It's just more. It's also a mind thing, zen thing. Take your mind away from the game. Just go out there and have fun with the boys and relax and find competition in another way outside of it being your job, quote unquote.
It pains me that you just said getting older. I had to take a look at your age, and at
I'm
24
I'm
ripe years.
24. I know I'm not. You're not old by any means, but man, a season takes a grind on the body, an underlying grind, and
I get
you
it.
you go through different things and you feel fresh and like I'm 24 and like I feel like this is my prime and the freshest I've been in terms of strength, recovery, movement, but it's you definitely tailor what you're doing to allow yourself to feel fresh and whatnot on the day to day and how your body adapts and grows and changes for sure.
Well, I'll check back in with me in another 6 years. I just hit 30 this past year,
Yeah,
and if I sleep wrong, my back is screwed for days.
no
So,
doubt. I know I'll
well,
get to that point, and then the routine and the adaptations will have to change to make sure I feel good, and I'll probably do less weight room stuff and more stretching stuff. So there's always a fine line of changing what's what to adapt and making sure you're feeling good for sure. But my older brother just turned 30, and I was like, God, 30 is that's a new decade for sure.
it's humbling. It's humbling.
Yeah,
All right. Well, Shane, I very much appreciate all the time you gave us. Obviously, wishing you the best of luck going forward here in
thank you.
2025. And
I
uh,
appreciate you having me on.
absolutely. And, I hope to see you, hope maybe even in Charlotte towards the end of the year, too. But thank
Yep,
you so much for doing this.
appreciate it. Just got to keep taking it start by start and keep stacking quality starts is all I try to focus on.